I grew up on Crash Bandicoot. I remember when I was a boy and the highlight of my life was telling Crash where to go. A little under 20 years ago now, I was trying to talk to my father about Crash Bandicoot, and he told me one day I was going to outgrow it and find other things to talk about. Now here I am, not only talking about Crash Bandicoot, but how to insert him into another game. How do you like me now, Dad? A quick note on this build, I'm not using the Skylanders Crash, or Crash Bandicoot 4. I really want to play Crash Bandicoot 4, but my Xbox One... My old Super Nintendo is more useful than that thing right now. Fluffy Boy's complication is communication difficulties. While he can understand the common tongue of your universe with no trouble, he has been known to have only spoken one word in his entire franchise. Whoever Crash speaks to should make an awareness check with a DC based on time spent with Crash or time around people with similar communication difficulties. Crash's strength should be good, but it's okay if it's not great since we'll be giving his classic spin attack a high number. Stamina should be pretty high. The first game did not suggest that Crash took a break as he stormed across each of those 3 islands. What I have for agility is arguable. I chose it and the number for dexterity based on a gut feeling and fond memories of getting precise timing on occasion. Toughness is a complete mystery since some of the bigger hits Crash has taken can be attributed to Aku Aku's protection, which we'll cover later. For this build, I'm specifically giving Crash the Death Tornado from Crash Bandicoot 3. It has 3 functions, the most expensive of which is to deflect because reflect and redirect are required for knocking the green plasma blast back at Dr. Cortex. Strike 8, I told you we were going to put some oomph into this, and the slightly concerning option of limited gliding. Some of you might consider adding a quirk to reflect some later games where it can cause dizziness after extended use, and or a feature allowing temporary senses radius vision. Fruit Bazooka, one of the best things about Crash Bandicoot 3, should have the same power as Crash's spin, but I elected range damage 5 to save myself points. Crash Dash for time trial mode. You likely predicted what I put for skills. You might consider Coco as a sidekick, but in most cases she's going to be your contacts because she has a laptop and can and will find ways to communicate with you. Animal empathy for getting that hog, polar bear, or T-Rex to let you ride it. And while Crash canonically has many vehicles, I chose to make the assumption that he has just one for your campaign, paying only for a 1-seater plane with a machine gun built in. Talk to your GM about letting you decide what that vehicle is mid-campaign if you think he's cool like me. Now I know you're curious about that 8 ranks of sidekick right there. That's Aku Aku, and everyone who knows Crash Bandicoot lore is looking at me funny because Crash is more like Aku Aku's sidekick, not the other way around. But Mutants and Masterminds doesn't make provision for being the pawn of a being not allowed to directly fight his nemesis because ancient laws, so this is as close as we can get. Being a flying piece of wood, Aku Aku has no strength or stamina, and if his power to fly was ever turned off, he would have literally no movement options. I opted to boost Aku Aku's will quite a bit because if he's ever mind-controlled, Crash is basically in a feces festival. You'll understand why as we go on. Protection 15 extends to others, like Crash. I'm assuming this is the level of protection granted on hitting the 3rd Aku Aku crate. Flight 5 to keep up with Crash Dash, and continue to provide protection. Energy protection for those of you who remember the final battle in Crash 3, as well as his twin brother Uka Uka trying to shoot Cortex at the end of Wrath of Cortex. Mind Control 12, Crash started getting iffy towards the end. Reduce range to ranged, reduce range to close. Quirk, must stay attached to target. And lastly, Move Object 3. I chose this number based on a time in Crash Twinsanity when Uka Uka decided the ancient laws don't apply to him and made himself a body of ice to fight Crash directly. It is known that Aku Aku can teleport himself and Crash limited distances as well. But 1, I don't know his max range, and 2, I kinda forgot about that until I made those complicated stills for Crash's advantages. It won't hurt my feelings if you replace all his powers minus flight with variable. Aku Aku's skills include history, ranged combat, and some may argue magic. It seems to be generally agreed that he was once a witch doctor who put himself in the mask to live on, but I cannot find confirmation of that in any official game I've ever played. Feel free to school me in the comments on that one obscure official statement, if it exists, but until then, I've always assumed that he's a construct created by a magic user. And with all that, my childhood friend comes out to be a level 9 character. Looking back, this is a more well-rounded character than I thought, so long as no one uses nullify magic or otherwise separates Crash and Aku Aku.